Rare cars, like a good cognac, are becoming better and more expensive over the years. Auto collectors spend massive sums on the purchase of retro cars. It's not surprising because every such car is a separate part of history, a symbol of the glory of previous owners, and an entire era that is frozen in metal. Hi guys, this video is about rare, beautiful, and expensive cars, from Ferrari for a few $1,000,000 to the most expensive car in history. Today, boys around the world argue about who is the best out of Messi and Ronaldo, and there were similar disputes 30 years ago over which car is cooler, the Lamborghini Countach or Ferrari F40. This red deity was born in 1987 to the 40th anniversary of the brand. The name F40 appeared for this reason. The supercar accelerated from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 3.8 seconds. It has an impressive engine power of 478 horsepower under the hood, even by today's standards. This is the first of the legally produced cars breaking the 200 miles per hour barrier. This is also the last model created during the life of Enzo Ferrari. The founder of the company was 90 years old at the time. The number of team wins in the race significantly decreased, and he got the task of building an automobile capable of competing with the new race leaders. The model, which became his last achievement, is the holder of the title as the world's fastest serial car. You have to really come down with several $1,000,000 to buy such a car. We are talking about high prices, so it's time to bring your attention the following model. The Mercedes-Benz 540K is a royal car in every sense. It was designed in 1936 for the Prussian monarchs. The rulers of Iran and Romania traveled in this car at different times. A powerful car, it was known as the favorite of the Goebbels, a close associate of Adolf Hitler, as well as Jack Warner of the Warner Brothers American Film Company. One of the 32 issued cars is still in the possession of the Baroness Gisela von Krieger from Prussia. The Baroness carried it to America in 1942, where a historic auto covered with dust sat in a garage for more than 4 decades. However, this beautiful specimen was sold at an auction for an amazing $11.8 million after a complete restoration in 2012. Let's talk about another royal car. The Bugatti Type 41 received the name Royale for its outstanding qualities and is by right considered as the most luxurious car of all time. Ettore Bugatti is the founder of the company, who initially planned to produce as many as 25 copies of the car, one for each of the 25 richest people of that time. However, he had to confine himself to 6 models because of the Great Depression. In view of the huge cost, there were no buyers for 2 cars, and they stayed within the Bugatti family. One copy of the car's body of Kellner coach during the Second World War was walled up behind a false wall in the family estate. The heirs sold this family car to the millionaire writer Briggs Cunningham in 1950, who broke up with the car only 40 years later. The car was sold at an auction for a record, at that time, $5.5 million after a competition between 4,000 auctioneers. At present, the cost of this rarity has risen many times, and the name of the owner is anonymous. However, the names of the owners of this powerful Mercedes are familiar to everyone. The Japanese Emperor Hirohito, the Pope, Wilhelm II in exile, and Adolf Hitler himself are among them. The Mercedes-Benz 770 is a luxury car, produced from 1930 to 1943. A bulky car perfectly suited the cult of gigantism and Aryan superiority. The high ranks of Nazi Germany loved this car. This is probably the most famous car associated with high-ranking Nazi officials, and is a peculiar symbol of the Third Reich. We all know what happened to Germany, Hitler, and all who followed him. But what happened to their magnificent cars? Quite a few of the Mercedes-Benz 770s have survived to this day, since most of them were destroyed during the hostilities. However, one of the 7 cars used by the Führer himself can be seen in the Canadian War Museum. What do you think about such a new spick and spam auto? It's a rarity. It sounds like a pun, but it's not. The group of auto enthusiasts organized the Moscow tuning firm implemented an unusual project. The new Volga V12 Coupe is a version of the Volga M21, but only on the outside. This fresh car, styled as a retro USSR symbol, is assembled on the basis of the BMW 850 CSI. It has 280 horsepower, a 5.5-liter engine, and an impressive speed on the road. And now you see the Ford GT40 Golf in front of you. This is the most expensive car sold at auction that was produced in the USA. This car was specially developed in 1968 for wins in long-distance races against Ferrari. In the bibliography of the unique car, there are also star races, participation in historical rallies, and even a role in the cinema. The car was shot in the Le Mans movie in 1970. Of course, as one of the main characters. It was necessary to cut off the roof for filming, but the former view of the car was nonetheless restored. In the end, the car that was shot in the movie was sold at an auction in Monterrey for an amount far exceeding all expectations, at $11 million. Owners of the auction even had to rewrite the Guinness Book of Records. This is another record from the Italian manufacturer. Ferrari 250 Testarossa 1957 is always in the sights of race car connoisseurs. The car got its name, which in translation means redhead, from the scarlet caps that are in the upper part of the 300 horsepower engine. This car embodies the golden age of the Italian company. In total, 22 similar roadsters were produced. One of them was sold in 2011 for $16.4 million. Another model of the Testarossa went under the hammer for $12 million. Why such a difference in price? The answer is simple. The above is an estimated car, the factory prototype, the first car among a cult series of these cars. Since we are talking about cult cars, then we cannot do without Lamborghini. It is a classic before your eyes. Lamborghini Miura is a sports car produced by the company in the 60s. By the way, the powerful car was named in the honor of the Spanish Ganaderia, a farm for breeding ferocious fighting bulls. The Lamborghini Miura SV on the video is especially notable for its incredible history. This family heirloom was forgotten and stood untouched in the garage for a quarter of a century. The car has remained completely in its original state, and so much so that the Concorde radio from the former owner even had a cassette left in it with the then new Rolling Stones album. The treasure was carefully restored and now looks like it's just come from a factory. Well, we got to that retro car, which for a long time was considered the most expensive. The Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic 1936 re-released in 2010 and was bought at an auction for a record $38 million. In total, 3 copies of this supercar were produced, and only 2 have survived to this day. The first is in the collection of Ralph Lauren, and here is a short story of the latter. It was made by the order of Rothschild. Afterwards, having come down with $50,000, its owner was then Peter Williamson. It should be noted that his investment was a success because in 40 years he sold his Bugatti for $38 million. The motor with a capacity of 210 horses was on the cult car, which accelerates to its top speed of 124 miles per hour. This speed may seem weak for some, but do not forget that this masterpiece was born in 1936. Well, finally, this is the Ferrari 250 GTO 1962. Today it takes the place of the most expensive retro car. The great history is behind the body of this car. It won the prestigious Tour de France in 1963. It finished first in the race for the city of Chamrus for the next 2 years. The car belonged to the collector Paul Pappalardo since 1974. Note that he was very lucky, because according to the rules then, the candidate must have been approved personally by Enzo Ferrari himself. Not so long ago, Paul decided to sell the car at an auction. For whatever reasons, it remains unknown. Ferrari 250 GTO with the chassis number 5111 was sold at the auction for a fabulous $38,115,000.
You have the car.
Thus, it is the most expensive retro car, and possibly the most expensive car at all bought openly at an auction to date. I hope you liked this video, and thank you all for watching.